Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another episode of the Opposition Preview. First things first, guys, make sure you smash the likes on the video, subscribe to the channel and leave your thoughts in the comments below. And on Saturday, Chelsea head to the King Power to take on Leicester, looking to make it 3 wins in a week, which would be quite something given how the season has gone so far. We've got to take each game as it comes, but 3 wins in a week would be signs of small progress, which have not looked likely in recent weeks. Obviously, it's going to be a tough game. Leicester's always a difficult place to go. Earlier in the season, 1-2-1 at Stamford Bridge. In a game, we had 10 men for most of it, so it was a close game earlier in the season. Last season, we won 3-0, probably one of our best performances of the season, but it's still going to be a tricky match. You know, Leicester need the points just as much as we do. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be a decent game, hopefully. And I'm delighted to be joined by Jack from the Final Whistle to discuss discuss Saturday's game. Mate, welcome to the channel. Thanks for coming. It's been safe to say that it's been pretty tricky for Leicester this season, hovering just above that drop zone. I mean, what have you made of the season as a whole?
It's been very well winded. It's not what we expected. It's not where we wanted to be. The target was Europe this season, to keep cementing where the club want to keep progressing. And first 8 games, crap. You know, Brendan were on the brink of the sack, and then he pulled some wins together. And then we went on a decent run of form, beating West Ham, Wolves, Everton, Leeds, Forest, 1 defeat against Bournemouth, a defeat to Man City, and a draw against Palace. We just thought, you know, we picked up some wins there, going into the World Cup, and we'll be okay. And then World Cup came back, and downhill again, losing to Liverpool, draw to Brighton, lost to Newcastle twice in the Cup and in the league, and lost to Saints, and lost to Arsenal, lost to Man United, beat Aston Villa and beat Spurs. It's been a more downs and ups with Leicester, and I think you could say the same about Chelsea. Chelsea's season this season's been more downs and ups since Graham Potter's come in after replacing Thomas Tuchel.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some similarities there in terms of certainly more downs and ups. But in terms of kind of where Rodgers stands at the moment at Leicester, obviously he was on the brink of the sack earlier in the season, as he touched on. He put a run of form together. Where did a fan base stand with him now? Is it getting to the point now where enough is enough, and there needs to be a change?
Yeah, the fans are at the Rodgers out situation. You know, there's obviously fans that are still going to sit there and say, fight for Rodgers, you know, and say Rodgers in. And when you say, why do you want Rodgers in, some don't have an actual explanation to why. But then when you say to the Rodgers out camp, it's like, well, this happened, that happened, and that. But I think with Brendan, you could say he's ran his course at Leicester. You know, it's now becoming that situation where it did at Liverpool and Celtic and places like that, where it's like, he's been at Leicester 4 years now, respectably won the FA Cup, the Community Shield, and he did all right in his first 2.5 years. I guess the last 18 months haven't been great. We've dropped out the Champions League places twice, finished 2 top 5 finishes. But as a Leicester fan, you'd have took that at the start of them seasons. Yeah. But I think with Brendan, it's now becoming the excuses of throwing the fans under the bus, the owners. He's done all that this season, and you're thinking, this man's football is like, it's kind of bad. And with Brendan, it's like the PR side is very good at. He likes to phase himself away from the defeat. Then he'll put the blame on everybody else but himself. And I think that's what something Brendan Rodgers is good at. But I think now the fans have kind of like wanting change. But then with Leicester fans now, it's like, who do you replace Brendan Rodgers with? Because we're in the part of the season now where we're in March, and what managers want to come to Leicester at this point of the season? I mean, if you'd sacked him in January, then people would want to come, but because it's now, people are going to think, oh, well, why didn't you just keep him till the end of the season, then sack him at the end of the season? But yeah, quite a lot of Leicester fans have voiced their opinion on Rodgers, especially after that Southampton embarrassment.
I mean, are you worried that you could go down? I mean, obviously, you know, you can say that, you know, there's the old saying, you know, you're too good to go down, but that's never really true. You're in that position for a reason because you've not been good enough. It's very close down the bottom of the table with yourselves, the likes of Palace, Forest, Wolves, Bournemouth, Everton. Not many points in it. I think you're hovering just above the drop zone by a couple of points or so. Is there concern amongst the fan base that you could genuinely be in a relegation battle and you could go down?
Oh, we're definitely in a relegation battle for sure. You obviously have that thing in the back of your mind, don't you? If things don't get right now, going into these next 13 games, can Leicester be relegated? Well, if things don't turn around, you could say yes, but then no one's too good to go down. And like you say, that's always been the big talking point of when teams are at the bottom and say you're too good to go down, but you're not. You actually ain't. And for me, there's 8 teams in there. There's Palace, there's Forest, there's Wolves, there's West Ham, there's Everton, Bournemouth, Southampton, Leicester. You know, the relegation scraps now become tighter, Charlie, to be fair. And I think worrying signs for Leicester. And if things don't start picking up under Brendan Rodgers, then, you know, it's a bit more doom and gloom, isn't it, for Leicester? But hopefully we can start turning loses into wins, because I think we need that now. And these next 13 games, starting from Chelsea, are massive for Leicester.
I mean, do you think, just on the board and stuff of the owners, do you think they can they afford to sack Rodgers? Is he like, would it cost a lot of money to get rid of him? Do you think is that part of the reason why they wouldn't do it? I mean, the wage bill at Leicester is quite high for a club of the size. Do you think financial reasons are a part of why he's not been sacked?
There was talk about that. When was it? The first 8 games when we were after that Tottenham defeat, that Leicester couldn't sack him due to all this money he's on, and then we lost to Man United, and then they were talking about a £28 million release clause to sack him, and then people were stating out reporters that Leicester can't afford to sack Brendan Rodgers, and then all these little pound signs got thrown around of how much it actually was, but there's no significance to know how. Yeah, no significance to how much it is to sack Brendan, but it's a weird one, Charlie, to be fair, and I think it's something that the owners have backed him. He can't sit and say that they haven't. Yeah. He's been crying out to be back. They backed him in January, bringing Christensen in, Souttar and Tete. But I think with Brendan, you know, now he's lost ideas. He's now becoming that. People now say he's like he's there for the money now, isn't he? He's not there to forget. People, Leicester fans are now claiming that he wants to be paid off. He actually wants to leave, but they can't afford to sack him. So he's still there on that sort of basis.
I mean, in terms of the squad, though, like I look at Leicester and I think there's some good players. Obviously, James Maddison's the standout. Harvey Barnes is a good player. I like the likes of Castagna, you know, Tielemans in midfield. And there are good footballers there. But, I mean, it's not really happening this season. And it seems to me that, like, you know, obviously, indeed, he's kind of fallen off a cliff. He was one of the most sought-after holding midfield players in football. And then kind of his form's dipped a lot. Tielemans out of contract at the end of the season. Looks unlikely he's going to stay. Question marks about Maddison's future as well. Where do you stand on it? Let's start with James Maddison. Obviously, a fantastic footballer, massive fan of his. I think he could go and play for any of the top 4 sides. Do Leicester fans expect him to stay beyond this season?
With Maddison, we'd wish him all the best if he did leave. He's a cracking player. He's one of the best midfielders in Europe, in my opinion, James Maddison. And he deserves to go and play at the highest level. He deserves to play in the Champions League, no doubt about it. And I wouldn't be fuming if he did leave. Obviously, there's a contract now on the table for him. If he wants it or he doesn't, then that's fine, you know. We're not, like, forcing his hand on it, you know. With Maddison, he's been our star man this season, even though he's had injuries, but he's still been our star man when he has played. We've won more games with Maddison than without him, and he's a key player and he's our prize asset. So, yeah, I think we'd love to keep him, but if a big team does come in and there's big money there that matches Leicester's valuation of Maddison, then potentially he could go.
Yeah, and on Tielemans as well. I mean, what are the feelings around him? Because he's out of contract and doesn't look like he's going to sign a new deal. He's obviously injured at the moment. How do the fans view the situation with him? Are they quite good with him, or is there a little bit of ill feeling towards the way that he's run his contract down?
Yuri's a fantastic player. He's done well since joining Leicester City. We admire him, and with Leicester now, it's become frustrating with Yuri. The contract's been on the table for a very long time for Yuri, and he hasn't signed it, even though how much we'd want him to sign it, he hasn't. And there was big talk of Arsenal in the summer, wasn't there, that they was going to sign Tielemans, but there was no actual approach to Leicester to sign him. I think Arsenal went and looked elsewhere. But yeah, Tielemans is out of contract in the summer. Leicester fans would say this season that he hasn't had the greatest of seasons, that he's kind of not focused too much on Leicester than he is elsewhere. But I guess with Tielemans, you know, we're going to lose money, aren't we, either way here? Because I think he potentially could leave on a free. He's going to leave on a free now, isn't he? So it's kind of like you're losing one of your best players. But if he doesn't want to be here, then that's fine, isn't it? But I just feel that with Leicester, we could have handled it a different way, like signed him on a contract, a 2-year contract, but then got money out of it. But we've handled it the wrong way, and we're allowing players to run all these contracts down, and we're going to end up losing all this money.
Yeah, well, I know too well. We lost the likes of Christensen for free, Rudiger, to name a few. It's not a great situation to be in. One player that he did sell to us last summer, Wesley Fofana, fantastic player. He's been outstanding for us since he come back from injury. His first time coming back to the King Power since that move. Obviously, didn't really conduct himself, you could say, in the best manner, not turning up to training and things like that. What sort of reception is he going to get from the Leicester fans when he comes back?
I don't think he's going to get a good reception. I think that's how it is. With a player, you kind of like lose respect for a player. And I think Leicester fans have done that with Fofana now. He burnt his bridges. And because the way he went about things, he didn't turn up to training. He refused to play, sit in the stands and all that. And then he'd play childish games and all that. And then he'd go on social media and do different things like cryptic clues and all that. And you're thinking, everything we did for Fofana, I mean, he got injured. We sorted him out there, with the injury that he had from that pre-season to when he came back. We looked after him well, and he was a fantastic player, Fofana. He showed huge potential. But, yeah, in kind of like the reports come into light now that he used Leicester as a stepping stone, which any player would use a club as a stepping stone, to get to the highest level. But I think Fofana, in the way he left them that, it's left a sour taste in Leicester's mouths, and I don't think they're really happy with looking forward seeing him coming back at the weekend, Charlie, to be fair.
I mean, he's been great for us. Obviously, it's always tough when you lose players. And there are right and wrong ways to leave a football club. But then I also understand, whilst it's not really acceptable to kind of not turn up to training, refuse to play games, sometimes as a player, sometimes you just got to force the hand a little bit. I'm not defending that sort of behaviour because I wouldn't like it if Chelsea players did that. But ultimately, if the player doesn't want to be there and they're trying to force a move, then I can kind of understand it from that side. But then I can also understand it from the fan perspective that, it doesn't look great. It looks like you're disrespecting the club, you're disrespecting the fans and whatnot. But yeah, look, I'm delighted he's at the club. He's doing really well for us. I think he's going to be a great player. Be interested to see his reception, as you say. I can fully understand why Leicester fans wouldn't particularly be willing to give him a warm reception because of kind of how he conducted himself in leaving. But in terms of the game itself, mate, how do you see that going? What do you think Leicester need to do to get a result? Because obviously you've beaten Spurs 4-1 at home. You can pull performances out when you need them. But what do you think needs to go right for Leicester to get a positive result against us on the weekend?
I think it'll be a tricky game. We're expecting a tough game. Chelsea have now picked up some form, beating Dortmund in the week, beating Leeds as well, which Fofana scored in. But Leicester have got to turn their fortunes around in quick. I mean, it's the race against time now, isn't it, in the position that Leicester's in. Chelsea, they've been more down this season and up. And You know, they brought in Mudryk, they brought in Fofana, they brought in the other Fofana as well. They've spent some money, Chelsea, this season, and they lost Lukaku, Timo Werner, and players like that in the summer. Jorginho left in January. So Chelsea have spent the money, but it hasn't really gone great in what Chelsea's favour. It's like it proves that success isn't brought. You have to earn it, and obviously brought in Enzo Fernandez as well. I think you paid £105 million.
He's been good for us. And then people might say, "Oh, you'd expect that with the money you spent," but there's no guarantees. No guarantees that any players are going to be successful. But no, he started really well. He's going to be a key player. I mean, another former Leicester player. I'm not sure if Kante is quite ready to feature at all. Maybe he might make the squad. Potentially, but he's been back in team training for at least a week or so now, maybe a bit more. He always gets a good reception, doesn't he? Like Leicester fans,
I love Kante.
Yeah, and yeah. So maybe he might feature. I'm not too sure, but maybe it's unlikely. If he does, it'll be from the bench. But yeah, in terms of kind of Leicester's play formation, sort of players, etc. Who's got to be? I mean, is Maddison going to be fit for this one?
Maddison's fit. For us to beat Chelsea, we've got to be at our A game like we was against Spurs. We've got to take the fight to Chelsea from the 1st to the 19th. Really give it a good go. There's no good at this passing around the back bollocks, to be honest. Sorry, my French. But, we can't play the way we did against Southampton because Chelsea like to press, don't they? With Havertz, Ziyech, Mudryk as well. Mudryk's got some pace on him.
Yeah.
You know, he moves like the Jamie Vardy of 15-16 season Mudryk. But he just hasn't got that finishing touch yet when it comes to goal scoring.
He's not played for the last 3 games. I mean, he's unused sub in against Dortmund and against Leeds, and he got 10 minutes against Spurs the week before that. He's not played as much. Maybe we'll see him. Just around that, mate. And what players in the Chelsea side concern you when you look at the lineup? You look at the names that might be on the team sheet. You see the likes of João Felix or Enzo Fernandez. I mean, what kind of players stand out to you? You think, we're going to have to watch these. They could cause us a few problems.
Looking from Leicester's perspective, you'd expect Maddison to turn up, Harvey Barnes, players like that. But Chelsea, you got to look out for Fernandez, João Felix.
Chilwell.
Chilwell can piss off.
Mate, just on that quickly, do you think, is he another one? Is he not going to get a good reception?
Chilwell ain't going to get a reception off Leicester.
No.
he believed the FA Cup final were bigger than the Champions League final, and Chilwell's made it personal, hasn't he? And the way he's come out about things regarding Leicester, he's bad-mouthed us, and he left fine. But, 9 to 10 games in that season, what were left. You remember the FA Cup game, don't you? When Ross Barkley scored.
Yeah.
He was sitting there laughing with the Chelsea players and all that. And then that summer he left. The summer window after. And then he bad-mouthed Leicester after that with the FA Cup final and all that. And thinking, mate, what are you actually doing? We actually gave you a footballing career at Leicester. We made you the player that you was, brought you in from the academy and all that. He came from our academy, and we made him a mature player, and we gave him the game time. And obviously, he wanted to play for a bigger club. I can respect that, but it's when you go about things after leaving the club, you just move on and don't like going bad mouth clubs because that makes it worse for people. Look at Aubameyang. Aubameyang is another one of them. Likes to talk about a lot on social media and stuff like that, and in reports about Arsenal and that. He's thinking, just leave it be. You've left the club. Don't worry about the other club now. But yeah, Chilwell, he ain't going to get a good reception off Leicester fans. I mean, he got booed last season. The only one who really got clapped with Kante. So,
yeah, I mean, I think Chilwell and James, they play in our back three, since they're going to be 2 really influential players. Obviously, João Felix is always one as well. And then, other than that, maybe Sterling's come into a bit of form. I think for me personally, from a Leicester perspective, Maddison's one to watch. Everything goes through him. Harvey Barnes is a threat as well. So definitely going to be keeping half an eye on those 2. Mate, to round out, score prediction, what are you thinking?
Head or heart? Which one do you want?
Mate, you can go both, mate.
I'll tell you what, if I went with my head, I'd probably say a draw.
Yep.
But then it depends which Leicester turn up. If turn up against Southampton, we could potentially get beat. But if I go with my heart, I'm going to say 1-0. 1-0 to Leicester. I think I'm going to go 1-0.
Fair. To be honest, I probably think it's going to be a draw, maybe a 1-1, but I'm going to be positive. I think we're going to make it 3 wins in a week. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win. But yeah, Jack, thanks for your time as always, mate. Really appreciate it. If people want to check out what you do and stuff, where's the best place for them to go?
Go check us out on the Final Whistle. We do all football content over on the Final Whistle, mostly Leicester because we're a Leicester-based channel. But yeah, we do the Premier League predictions, match previews, match reviews, match day vlogs, all that. Go subscribe to us at the Final Whistle. Go and get us up on social media as well at the Final Whistle, and yeah, you'll find everything there.
Perfect, guys. I'll link all that in the description below. Make sure you go and check it out. For myself, make sure you smash the likes on the video, subscribe to the channel, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you again in another video soon.